Joining me now is that Democrat, Congressman Ted Lieu of California, a former military prosecutor and a current member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, you yourself, you're a former prosecutor, and just this week you've tweeted multiple times that Matt Gaetz is entitled to the presumption of innocence, but that he is not entitled to sit on the House Judiciary Committee that is oversight over the department investigating him for sex crimes with a minor. Is your concern here the appearance of impropriety, or do you really worry that this elected member of the House might use his position to interfere in his own criminal probe?
Thank you, Katie, for your question. And it's absolutely correct that, like all Americans, Representative Matt Gaetz does have his innocence presumed to be innocent. So we can't infer he's guilty, but he is not entitled to sit on the committee that has direct oversight over the department that is investigating him for sex crimes with a minor. And it's not just an appearance of impropriety. He's already attacked the Department of Justice from his perch as a member of Congress sitting on the House Judiciary Committee. So the GOP leader, Kevin McCarthy, needs to remove him immediately.
I can't believe I'm even having to ask this question of you, because I think it's a real sign of our times. But, Congressman, is there any precedent here for this? A member of Congress being the subject of a DOJ investigation while conducting oversight of the DOJ itself?
I'm not steep in history of Congress. This seems completely improper to me. It looks like a clear conflict of interest. And what's remarkable is the deafening silence you hear from Republicans in Congress, and you see no one calling for him to be removed, even though it's pretty obvious he should not be sitting on the House Judiciary Committee. And again, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy needs to do the right thing and remove Matt Gaetz from this committee.
So in the absence, Congressman, of somebody like Kevin McCarthy doing the right thing, you know, benching Matt Gaetz until there is some type of conclusion to the investigation, what have you been able to do, or what type of dialogues have you had with your fellow members on the House Judiciary Committee about the fact that Gaetz should not be sitting in judgment of himself, pretty much?
So we know, just based on the public reporting, for example, that not only did Matt Gaetz' ex-girlfriend agree to testify against him, but now you have more than one witness that will discuss the allegation that Matt Gaetz paid to have sex with a minor. These are very serious charges that could lead to very long prison sentences. And the department that's investigating him is under the Judiciary Committee. And for Matt Gaetz to be sitting there saying things as a member of the Judiciary Committee, attacking the department, that is completely and wholly improper. I also know, by the way, that Matt Gaetz was basically the only member of Congress a few years ago that voted against a bill that cracked down on human sex trafficking. So he's taken a lot of actions that I think have been improper.
So Matt Gaetz was on Steve Bannon's podcast this week. Let's listen to what he said.
We are going to take power. And when we do, it's not going to be the days of Paul Ryan and Trey Gowdy where the Republicans go limp-wristed, where they lose their backbone and fail to send a single subpoena. No, it's going to be the days of Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And you know what? We're going to get answers, real answers about what happened in the election, answers about the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Congressman, you know, that type of vitriol stands in stark contrast to some of the more, moderated kind of language that we usually hear coming from the Democrats, and it just really engenders a lot of divisiveness between the two parties. So Matt Gaetz says this is what's going to happen when the Democrats lose the midterms. What is your reaction to what Matt Gaetz has said?
I thought President Biden had a very good point last week when he said, what are Republicans for? And Republicans haven't been able to answer that. We know that Democrats are for rebuilding roads, bridges, and highways, were for reopening schools, for getting people their health insurance premiums lowered. But Republicans, it seems like they're just for power and for revenge. And when you look at Matt Gaetz' comments, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They don't really have an agenda. They just want to seize power and to enact revenge. And I don't think the American people are going to vote them in this November.
While we're on the subject of scorched earth in Congress, I do have to ask you about the case of Republican freshman Representative Madison Cawthorn. So there's a group of activists. They're trying to get him disqualified from running for re-election because they say it would violate the 14th Amendment's ban on insurrectionists holding office. In your opinion, how connected to the January 6th insurrection would a lawmaker have to be in order for Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to apply?
Section 3 of the 14th Amendment bars any member of Congress or the Senate from serving any elected office if they engaged in an insurrection or gave aid or comfort to the insurrectionists. And in this case, what we know is a few weeks after the November presidential elections, Representative Madison Cawthorn told a group of conservatives to call the members of Congress and lightly threaten them about the presidential election results. He also was at the January 6th rally and riled up the mob. He's taking a lot of actions that, in my view, could classify as giving aid or comfort to the insurrectionists. And now you have this lawsuit ongoing in North Carolina, and he has to answer in that lawsuit. He has to provide evidence. He will be deposed based on the rules, and we look forward to seeing what his response is.
Congressman Ted Lieu of California, thank you so much.